The power of being a blessing. You wake up, and for a brief moment, everything is quiet. No noise, no pressure, just the subtle awareness of being alive. But then, as the day begins, something feels off. Have you ever experienced that? That strange emptiness that lingers even when, on paper, everything seems fine? You've achieved things, you've worked hard, maybe even reached goals you once dreamed about. And yet, deep down, there's a silent question echoing, is this all there is? It's a feeling many people carry but rarely admit. Because we've been taught to chase more success, more recognition, more possessions. But what if the missing piece in your life has nothing to do with what you gain, and everything to do with what you give? There is a quiet truth that most people overlook. Selfishness doesn't fulfill, it drains. It convinces you that everything revolves around your needs, your desires, your progress. And for a while, it feels right. You push forward, you achieve, you accumulate. But the more you feed that cycle, the more something inside begins to fade. Because the human spirit was never designed to thrive in isolation. It was designed to connect, to contribute, to serve. And when that part of you is ignored, a kind of emotional dehydration sets in. You start to feel disconnected, not just from others, but from yourself. Abundance, in its truest form, isn't built on what you hold. It's built on what flows through you. Maybe right now, your life feels repetitive. The days blur together, achievements don't excite you like they used to, and there's a quiet sense that you're just going through the motions. Existing, but not fully living. If that resonates, pause for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you did something purely for someone else? No expectation, no recognition, no reward. Just a genuine act of kindness. Because something powerful happens in those moments. Something shifts. Life gains color again. Purpose returns. And suddenly, you're not just living, you're impacting. There was once a man ordinary in every sense, who went for a walk each morning. One day, he noticed an elderly woman struggling to cross the street. Without hesitation, he stepped in, helped her, smiled, and continued on his way. It seemed like a small, insignificant act. But a few days later, he saw her again. This time, she was waiting for him, holding a small note. It read, "You were the first person in months who looked at me with kindness. Thank you for reminding me that goodness still exists." That moment stayed with him. Because what he thought was small meant everything to someone else. And that's the hidden power of contribution. When you choose to be a blessing, you become a channel. Something greater flows through you to reach those who need it most. But maybe you're thinking, what if I'm the one who feels empty? How can I give when I barely have enough for myself? And that's where the deeper truth reveals itself. Because in giving, you receive. In helping, you heal. In lifting others, you rise. It may sound paradoxical, but it's real. The energy you share doesn't disappear, it multiplies and returns. Not always in the same form, not always immediately, but inevitably. The world teaches you to hold on, to protect, to accumulate. But life itself teaches something different. Fulfillment comes from release. From generosity. From contribution. And when you begin to live that way, something inside you comes alive again. Every time you extend your hand to someone else, a part of you grows stronger. Not in ego, not in status, but in essence. You begin to realize that being a blessing is not something you do occasionally. It becomes who you are. It's a mindset, a way of seeing the world. You wake up and instead of asking, "What can I get today?" you ask, "How can I make a difference today?" And that simple shift changes everything. Because life stops being a competition and becomes a contribution. Now here's a question that might challenge you. If everyone in the world lived exactly the way you live today, would the world become better or worse? It's an uncomfortable question, but a necessary one. Because it forces awareness. It reveals whether we are adding value or just consuming it. Being a blessing is not about grand gestures. It's about small, consistent acts of humanity, kindness, empathy, presence. You may not change the entire world, but you can change someone's world. And sometimes, that's more powerful than anything else. Imagine a life where every day feels meaningful. Where you go to sleep not just tired, but fulfilled, knowing that you made a difference, even in a small way. That is true abundance. Not measured in numbers, but in impact. And the most incredible part, when you live this way, life begins to respond. Opportunities appear. Connections deepen. Peace settles within you. Because when you become a blessing to others, blessings find their way back to you. So here's a simple challenge. For the next 7 days, choose, intentionally, to be a blessing in someone's life. It doesn't have to be big. A kind word, a listening ear, a gesture of support. Just observe what happens. Notice how your perspective shifts. Notice how your energy changes. Notice how life starts to feel different, lighter, more meaningful. Because you're no longer just existing, you're contributing. And if this message resonates with you, take a moment to declare it, not just outwardly, but within yourself. I choose to be a blessing. Let that be your commitment. Not for recognition, not for reward, but because it aligns you with something deeper, something real. Because at the end of the day, your life won't be remembered for what you accumulated, but for what you gave. Be light. Be love. Be a blessing. Because in the end, that is what gives life its true meaning.